Not all Blood Angel units are created equal. Some can carry entire campaigns, while others can end it for all the wrong reasons. After completing the entire campaign, I've ranked every Blood Angel unit from MVP to all the way down to Do Not Touch. Let's add a disclaimer here. I know some of these rankings are going to upset people. But after spending dozens of hours with the Blood Angels, I am basing my opinion on the following criteria: the damage, the survivability, versatility, and the cost of the units. We will start from the bottom of the roster and make our way up to the HQ units. And with that being said, let's get started. Our first unit are the Intercessors. I like the Intercessors. They are a solid troop unit, and they won't decide battles, but is able to contribute to the success. With only 17 points in cost and a damage output, these troops are generally speaking pretty good. What pulls them down is unfortunately their slow movement and low armor and health level, which is why I rank them in tier B. They can be good, but only in certain situations. Next up is the Assault Squad. With only 50 health points, this unit is one of the lowest amount of health. While the movement range is great, I did not experience a great damage output by this unit, mostly due to the fact that they fall before getting some hits in. Saying that, I would rank them in tier C. Now, let's talk about the Inceptors, a unit that I have generally mixed feelings about. They are well armored and have 100 health to begin with. They can shoot a lot, but their armor piercing is generally not the greatest. So naturally, you can only use them against smaller units. For the cost of 110 points, I would like to get a little bit more out of them, which is why I rank them in tier B. Now, on to some unpopular choices. I'm predicting some general disagreement with that one, but for my playstyle, these units really did not help. I'm talking about the Land Speeder and the Tornado version of it. Both units are useless in melee encounters, and while they do have a good movement range and are potentially great scout units, paying 95 points or 125 points for a scout unit is just not for me. On top of that, they do not have the best piercing with their base weapon. And even their multi-meta is not what I would want for a scout unit to have. All in all, I had a terrible experience with the Land Speeder, which is why I would not recommend them for anyone. So, tier F, do not touch. So, let's move on to some more fun units, the Hellblasters. While I had to get warm with them first, I started to appreciate them from battle to battle. Yes, they only have 75 health points, and yes, they cost 110 points in general with a very limited range, but I keep those units hidden in the bag, and with enough protection, these units pack a punch. Both plasma weapons are insanely great and is perfect in combination with this unit. They are mainly responsible to defeat the big boys, and they do so with great reliability, in my opinion. All in all, a very good unit. So, tier A. And this leads me to the next amazing unit on this roster, the Bulk Predator. This unit was the MVP of my 20 mission campaign against the Tyranids. With 400 HP, this unit is a tank. Not only that, but it deals an immense amount of damage to close by enemies. With armor piercing of 4, it cuts through the majority of armor, and with 100 attacks dealing 3 to 4 damage, this can decimate entire enemy units. Have 2 or 3 of those predators in your squad and you will be unbeatable. Trust me, those 205 points are the best you'll ever invest. Tier S, MVP. And now we're slowly getting into the units that everyone is interested in. The elite units. The Death Company is a very hard choice for me. Originally, those were the units that actually got me into Warhammer in the first place. Their tragic background motivated me to experience the grim darkness of the dark future. Saying that, I was very disappointed with the Death Company squad. For a cost of 90 points and a very mediocre damage output, the units will scale the more enemy units you destroy. But similar to the Assault Squad, the majority of these units will be decimated before you can get a good hit in, which makes the power kind of obsolete. All in all, they are meh. So, Tier C. Which brings me to one of the biggest disappointment and probably even more controversy. The aggressors are just not it. With 125 HP and 7 armor, they seem to be a great tank. And with some great melee damage, they're able to beat down some enemy monsters. But, and here's the big but, they are slow and not suitable for a Blood Angel's attacking style. I would see them more as an Ultramarine unit, and really not a Blood Angels unit. I stopped using them relatively quickly in the campaign because they just did not get into the right positions. They were not quick enough for me, and this is a factor that makes them unusable. Therefore, I place them in Tier F. Moving on to a very cool unit in my opinion, the Assault Terminators. With 150 health and a base armor of 8, this unit is already very sturdy. You can even upgrade them with a shield, which gives them 1 more armor, but also costs 30 points more. Well invested points in my opinion though. Anyways, their damage output is great, and while they are solely melee units, the teleport ability makes it easy to spawn next to a bunch of enemies. Yes, it takes a while to regenerate, but at that time the battle is already over. I really enjoyed this unit and would recommend it to anyone who does not like losing units. Therefore, this unit belongs for me into Tier A. Now, let's talk about the Sanguinary Guard, a unit that is very well made in this game. Especially the ability of having a 25% chance of gaining an action point after killing an enemy unit. This makes this unit a real powerhouse. Unfortunately though, they only have 80 health points. This makes them really hard to utilize for very long. So, if you are able to get the best out of it, it can be a game changer. But you can also quickly lose soldiers in this unit, which makes them less effective. I would say, all in all, a solid unit, but a bit overpriced. So, Tier B. The next unit on our list is the Furioso Dreadnought. The Dreadnought is an interesting companion. He has a bunch of different weapon choices, and based on the enemy, you're against a very good all-rounder. With 320 HP and 9 armor, this guy is nearly indestructible. Whether it is melee or range combat, This guy is one of the reliable damage dealers and a great shield for the Hellblasters and HQ units. I really enjoyed customizing these guys to my needs and would highly recommend them in every army. I would say this is the definition of a very good unit, for only 155 points, I must say. So, tier A it is. This leads me to the last elite unit on this roster, the Invictor Warsuit. I must admit, I'm a little lost on this one. It has so many weapons and none of them are really that great. Yes, it deals some damage and has 400 HP, but for whatever reason, this suit just didn't fit into my army. I really cannot explain why. Maybe it was because the enemy focused too much on it, or I was just not able to use it well. But for 200 points, I expected a game changer that I just did not receive. This is why I'm placing this unit in tier C, with the potential of moving it up once I figured out how to use them correctly. This finally brings us to the HQ units. And we start off strong with the Tech Marine. This guy carried me through the campaign. Without him, all of my tech units would have been toast. Because he's able to heal the mechs every turn and give them armor and damage boosts, this guy cannot be missed in any army with mechs. With 180 HP, he can also survive a few hits. But if protected well, you should not worry about it too much. To me, this guy is a true hero, which is why I rank him in tier S. And talking about healing, another very important support unit is the Sanguinary Priest. He brings very similar arguments as the previous unit. Not only is he healing our troops, but he also increases their damage output immensely. Especially paired with Terminators, it can become a very deadly combo for anyone who has to face them. Yet again, with 180 health points and the ability to heal himself if necessary, this guy becomes literally undefeatable. To me, tier S, MVP. Moving on to the penultimate units, the Librarians. Whether it's the Dreadnought unit or the Librarian itself. Both belong, for me, into tier B. I think this is a good place for them in order to build a great army around them. But, all in all, they are a bit too expensive for my liking. While the stats are impressive, I did not experience a real effective use case for them. But, again, I did not use them a lot, and I am open to change my mind in future battles. Which leads me to the Lieutenant. Last but not least, the Lieutenant. For 165 points, in my opinion, a solid unit with some great support powers. Since momentum is very important in this game, it gives you an opportunity to build it up and shift the battle towards your advantage. With the jump pack, he can always be close to the important units, and with 225 points, he can take a few hits himself. Yep, all in all, a very good unit that is great for support, but will not decide the battles on its own. A good end to the tier list in tier A. Well, and that wraps up my Blood Angels tier list. Of course, this is just my experience after playing through the campaign and spending a lot of time learning what each unit brings to the battlefield. I'm sure some of you would rank certain units differently, and I genuinely love to hear your thoughts. So, which ranking do you agree with the most? And which one do you think I got completely wrong? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It really helps support this channel and lets me keep making more Warhammer strategy content. And with that being said, thank you very much, and see you in the next one.